Watch Dogs Legion is kind of fascinating. It's like a challenging, experimental indie game fighting for breath inside the cavernous whale gut of big budget expectations and norms. It's just on the cusp of doing something genuinely fascinating with its systems, but it feels trapped. If I were to drag out the London metaphor to its limits, I'd say Watch Dogs Legion was like a bowl of jellied eels. A nutritious, fresh set of ideas globbed up inside a safe, sludgy formula, traditional to a fault and smelling faintly of piss. Legion is kind of a boring game, but it does have some pretty spicy ideas. I'm a freakishly buff duck, and this is spicy ideas in boring games. Watch Dogs Legion. This is Melissa Davies. She's a pensioner, she writes poetry, she used to be a sex worker, she's currently in remission from breast cancer, and she collects Christmas ornaments. I know this because Legion told me all this. Now, Legion lets you add anyone in London to your Pokedex of roving terror bastards. You find an NPC you like, perform a procedural side mission for them, and then recruit them into DedSec. From there, you can use their skills to complete the various pocket dimension immersive simulates that the game is made up of. Legion's antagonist is Albion, a private military company that have taken over London. It's up to you and a population bafflingly high in hacker nans and homeless Navy SEALs to get it back. Mechanically, it doesn't really matter who you recruit. Every NPC has the same Swiss Army knife versatility with a few extra gadgets here and there. But when I'm playing as Melissa or any of my other operatives whose backstory I know, I'm actually fine with the lack of mechanical variety. All it takes is those few scraps of biography, and everything she does is given context. Why is Melissa on the warpath? Melissa has her reasons. Melissa's got a fever, and the only prescription is some lovely treason. Now, this is all headcanon for sure, but it's headcanon inspired by the prompts that the game has given me. It's like a creative writing exercise. Rinse and repeat for a few more NPCs, and suddenly the game is producing delicious, procedural, personal stories. And then, what if Melissa takes a bullet to the head, which is Cockney rhyming slang for dead? Legion has permadeath. It's one of my favourite mechanics, but it seems like an odd fit for a GTA-like. You think GTA, you think big-time chaos with short-term consequences. I'm reminded of Firaxis 2012 XCOM here, which is similar to Legion in a few ways. As well as the permadeath, both games present their starring organisation as the central protagonist. This is great because both games' central conflict revolves around that organisation's need to exist in the first place. The real magic happens though when both games end up making the player feel profoundly for the plight of the all but nameless individuals that make up these organisations. And this is, by and large, systems driven. A few lines of biography, a few visual quirks, and both XCOM and Legion achieve something that many games struggle with, and that's make death feel less cheap. Now, am I saying that a bit of maths and a few funky hairdos are more effective than, say, the entire script of The Last of Us 2? I mean, honestly, yeah, Legion could be better in a lot of ways. One of its major failings stems from what has, unfortunately, become somewhat of a Ubisoft trademark, and that's being absolutely petrified of paying more than the most mealy-mouthed lip service to social issues. Legion wants to tell a story about a community, but it doesn't seem interested in focusing on the issues that actually affect communities. Issues like poverty, lack of upward mobility, lack of job prospects, lack of social safety nets, lack of work placement schemes, media-fed divisions between age demographics, race demographics, anything of any substance whatsoever. Any one of these could inspire entire quest chains, but Legion seems content to stick to the same few vaguely espionage-themed tasks. Some operatives can panhandle for cash, but they can't, say, hand out leaflets on the street. I can steal a bus, but I can't give old dears a lift to the shops and maybe have a nice chat about building some bombs on the way over. GTA had a taxi system, so why can't I drop people off to protests? I got a leaflet through the post in real life from the Conservatives one year offering to give me a lift to do some voting. And in this way, DedSec is less forward-thinking than the actual British Conservative Party, which is fucking terrifying. The ability to insult passers-by gets its own button, despite the fact that deliberately isolating the citizens of London is pretty much the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. I would love the ability to, say, compliment someone's shoes or buy them a coffee and donut from Greggs, but I'm limited to just trying to ruin their day. The car hacking is also a big legacy system that only really supports being a giant cyber wanker, rather than any sort of constructive community building effort. The one thing that Legion is desperately lacking is non-violent side quests. I don't mean non-violent as in you get to shoot someone with a yellow shotgun instead of a black one. I mean side quests that are about the people of London. Look, every open world game could stand to learn from the Yakuza series, but Legion, especially because of its themes, would absolutely flourish with a few light-hearted mumblecore distractions. Let me take a pensioner around the shops and then for a slice of cake and a cuppa afterwards. Let's have a chat about how she used to see her grandkids every other weekend, but now, because Albion have made it such a hassle to travel, she barely sees them once a month. Let me have a pint with a kid who was so disillusioned by an education system that sucks the confidence out of anyone who isn't traditionally book smart that he started dealing pills. And let me use some of that money that I've been siphoning from every cash machine in sight to put him through community college. And we can go fuck up Albion afterwards, sure thing, right? But I'd be doing it with someone with a story that relates to the city as a whole.